What's up, guys? It's the Flamed Applesauce here, and I'm doing another video, like another report video essay. This is the Hello Kitty murder case. So, just to get started off, I don't like sitting here staring at the camera because it feels weird, and no, I don't really like that. I'd much rather sit here and read off my notes and, you know, throw some extra stuff in there. But I know it feels more personal to look at the camera, but I'll probably end up working up to that. But as of right now, it's not gonna happen. I'm a little camera shy. All right. Anyways, the Fan Man Yi case, or known as the Hello Kitty murder case, occurred in Hong Kong during March 17th to April 16th of 1998/99. This case is about as odd and horrible as you can imagine. This case reveals some of the worst things humans can do to another. Most of the details of the torture seem akin to something you'd see in a video game or a movie due to the absurdity here and there. Now, here's the people that you are going to need to know. First, we have Fan Man Yi. She is the victim that was, tortured and all the fun stuff. Ng Chi Yun is the victim's abusive husband. I don't know. I don't believe he got any better. Awful guy. We'll get into it. Chan Man Lok. He is the gang member who had her kidnapped and also started. He's the one that started everything. Then we have Lau Ming Fong. She was a 13/14-year-old girl who was groomed into the gang. She was forced into it. Then we have Lung Xing Cho, who is believed to be Lau's boyfriend, and I think he was 21, 23. Fun stuff, real yucky guy. And then we have Long Wai Lun is the second abuser, and he's part of the gang as well. And then for the overarching thing, we have the Wo Xing Wo triad, and they are the oldest Chinese organized crime, or whatever. All right. Fan Man Yi was born in 1976 and then given up by her family when she was a child in Shenzhen, China. This resulted in her being taken in by an all-girls orphanage in Ma Tua Wai, which is 34.9 kilometers from Shenzhen. At 15, she was released from there, leading to her being homeless, addicted to drugs, and forced into prostitution until she was 21. After her 21st birthday, she joined a brothel named Romance Villa in Sham Shui Po, which is 27 kilometers from Ma Tua Wai, which isn't very far. And now, while she was in the brothel, she ended up marrying one of her clients, Ng Chi Yun. So, while she was a sex worker in the brothel, she had a regular, and it was Ng Chi Yun. And eventually, she found out she was pregnant, and they got married. Now, Ng Chi Yun was described as abusive by their neighbors, and thanks to, all the super fun things happening in their lives, they had a child together, which is, fantastic. Definitely, super awesome background to come from. Doesn't mean you can't rise above, but he doesn't have the best of starts. So they had a child, and it was a son in late November of 1998. Also reported during this time was, screaming matches between the two, fighting between each other, and a baby crying in the background while it's happening. Nothing was really done about it. It was just kind of like the cops showed up and they were like, yo, stop that. And that was that. Now, during this time, Fan and her family lived in Mong Kok, 3 kilometers from Sham Shui Po, and they are 64.9 kilometers, or 40.3 miles from her birthplace in Shenzhen. So she didn't go very far. I currently have traveled from my original birthplace. You know, that's like going, I don't know, 2-3 towns over with a little bit of space in between. I'm currently 400 and something miles away from my birthplace, you know. After Fan's son was born, she decided to turn her life around. She quit prostitution, drugs, and dropped her husband like a metal pipe. She became employed at the Empress Karaoke Club, which I couldn't find. I looked for it for quite a while. I couldn't find it on Google Maps. I couldn't find it on anywhere, really. So I'm assuming it just doesn't exist anymore. But since she left her husband, she dropped back down to a one-income household and struggled to support her and her son. Now, it's a bit confusing reading the wiki. It says that she stopped prostitution late 1998, and then it says that Chan, the abductor, was a regular client in her brothel in early 1999. And the other documents are in Chinese, and I don't know if you can tell, but I cannot, in fact, speak or moreover read Chinese. But I used Google Translate, and some of it makes sense. It's just a very basic police report saying, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Whatever. Anyway, Chan Man Lok was a 33-year-old Woshing Wo triad member who had pretty much always been a not great guy. He had several previous drug trafficking charges, which means he sucked at his job. And speaking of his job, the Woshing Wo Triad is one of the oldest organized crime societies in China. They have been around since 1930. They went from 15,000 to 70,000 members from 1940 to 1950 due to them helping Chinese refugees during the Chinese Civil War. So they would, like, during the Chinese Civil War, they'd help people cross over or get to whichever side they're wanting to go. And then as they do that, they'd be like, alright, cool, now you have to be a part of us. And then they couldn't get out. They are most well known for their acts of terrorism on the Indonesian coast border, and interestingly, in 2006, the Triad owned the second-hand market in Mongkok, which is where the case takes place. Now, Chan Man Lok was rooming with Lung Wai Lun, 21, Lau Ming Fong, 14, and her boyfriend Lung Xing Cho, possibly 26. During this time, Chan was a regular client of Fan's, and she decided to try and steal Chan's wallet, which had roughly 4,000 Hong Kong dollars. It's about 500 US dollars with the exchange now. Chan found out, and when he did, he demanded the money back. She paid him immediately, so she had the money and she gave it to him. But he also demanded another $10,000 on top of it, which comes to about $1,800 in total. So he wanted another $700. I'm dumb. $1,300. So she wasn't really able to pay him back because, you know, once again, she is working at a brothel type thing. So about a week after she stole the money, Chan sent 3 of his goons to pick her up from her home. They brought her to Chan's apartment where her nightmare began. Chan had a room that was completely covered in Hello Kitty designs. It was on the walls, the bed, the curtains, the pillows, everywhere. Chan's plan was to prostitute her out to make his money back. He would get close to it, and he'd increase her debt every time she was close. But when she couldn't get the money, they would beat her, and she couldn't work when cut or bruised because, you know, obviously, you know, it's a horrible industry, but if you're gonna, you know, do that, you probably wouldn't be like, this woman's covered in cuts and bruises. That's, you know, rough. That'd probably honestly get reported to the police. They'd be like, yeah, I was doing this horrible thing, but it seems she was having rough stuff happening, and I'm here to help, so it's okay now. But the Triad members loved crystal meth, so they'd get high and have fun torturing Fan. Now, they do explain, they said very, very often, they were like, yeah, we had fun. Most of the reports are from, most of the reports are from Lau Ming Fong, which is the 14-year-old girl. she was afraid and she went to the police, which we'll cover later. Now, if you're squeamish, click off now. The details get rough. So that is your warning. It's starting now. If you want, you can, I'll probably put like a thing somewhere that's like, hey, you can go here and this will be like the end of the hard stuff to listen to, and here's like the ending of how it ends, and you know, skip out on all the awful stuff. Anyways, the Triad members would torture Fan for almost a month. So she went missing on, it was March 17th, and so she went missing on March 17th and was tortured all the way until she like died on April 16th, and then it was reported about a week or so later. But anyways, they would melt straws, like drinking straws, and they dip it onto her feet to burn them. And when they were, you know, in her words, Lau's words, bored, they would hit her feet with sticks because they had nothing better to do. When she finally had cuts and open wounds, the group would pour chili sauce in the cuts and wounds. You know, like super hot, spicy chili sauce, and they just, I can't even imagine. Now, they would also drown, like almost drown her in oyster sauce, which oyster sauce is thick and very strong. And they would force her to drink oils, just different types of oils. And when the gang was bored of that, they would urinate on her and in her mouth, and if she spit, they would beat her worse. The group also told her to smile and say she enjoyed the punishment, otherwise they would beat her, you know. The group also told her to smile and say she enjoyed the punishment, otherwise it would still be worse still. So as she's being beaten and cut and like drowned and burned and just casually beat up, she had to say that she enjoyed it. And that's not even the worst of it. So they would string her up with extension cords. They would take extension cords and they would string her up, hang her from the ceiling, and then beat her with pipes and bars as if she was some random punching bag to get rid of. The worst one, I think, is that the 13-year-old defecated into a box and proceeded to force Fan to eating it. During the court case, she said it was that the torture was a fun game they played, and it created an entertaining atmosphere. After torturing for so long, Fan was, in Lau's words, broken, so it wasn't much fun to play with her, but we did it anyway. Now, most of the group would torture her casually while playing video games. So, they would, you know, be playing video games or something, one of them would get up to get a drink, and they'd just, like, hit her or something, or, like, they'd be in between rounds of, like, Tekken or something, or Mortal Kombat, and be like, whoa! Get her! Or, like, maybe one of them would die playing PUBG Mobile or COD Mobile, you know. When they got bored of games at home, they'd just leave her hanging from the ceiling and go to a nearby arcade, and they'd get home and leave her. Finally, after a month, Fan's torture would end. She would no longer have to endure the horrors of this group. She had finally passed away. She had given up her life and was not holding on any longer. When the gang figured out she was dead, they decided to get rid of her. Chan and the group were high on ice, or crystal meth, and over the course of 10 hours, they dismantled Fan into sections. So over 10 hours, they took her body, put it into a tub, and then the three men went to cutting her up into pieces. Chan took her head off, while Lung Wai and Xing both skinned her pieces and bagged them up. Now, Lau Mingfeng was woken up by Chan and told to boil her intestines, which were placed in a plastic bag so they wouldn't smell. And while she did that, her boyfriend was boiling Fan's skull. It's reported that the group decided they were a bit peckish and decided, you know, they needed some food. They didn't do what I feared. They had noodles! Noodles! Yeah! Noodles! And they didn't have human meat. Thankfully, they didn't eat this woman. Now, they still use the same spoon to stir her head and the noodles. But like I said, it's noodles! You know? I would like to reiterate that Lau Ming Fong was 13, kind of like edge of 13, 14. I can't capitalize numbers in a text document, but if I could, 13, 14 would be. I couldn't imagine being 13 or 14 and like being in this kind of situation, you know, doing ice, crystal meth, and just like casually torturing a person. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, like at all. But you can tell that they treat her like she's a child because they told her, come look. It's like something you'd see in a movie. And, that is insane to be like, hey, we killed a person. This is something you'd see in a movie. Come check it out. It's cool. But at other times, they treat her like an adult because she was also used for, like, smuggling drugs and, you know, once again, torturing a person. And once the severed head was boiled into essentially a soup and just her skull was left, they got the idea to slam that thing into a Hello Kitty mermaid pillow. And it's currently the one you're seeing now. It seems roughly the only reason that it was found out is because the 13-year-old girl believed she was haunted by the ghost of Fan and told police so they could send, I guess, the Ghostbusters. But instead of them, the police sent over detectives and they found all the evidence. Skull in the pillow, sections of body in the fridge, the remains everywhere, sections of body in trash cans around the area. And I do feel bad for the girl. Lau Ming Fong, yeah. I do feel bad for her because she was forced into the gang. It's not like she had a choice. She was definitely forced in. But it also feels that due to her being brought up in that environment, it's evident that she's got something going on there and this is just like normal for her now. So I feel like she'd probably have trouble coming back into society. Now, she was given full immunity by the police for cooperating and giving the police all of the details. Which, you know, me personally, I've thought about it, and I can't really decide, you know, one way or the other. That is a very tough decision, because on one hand, this is a 13-year-old girl who was, A, forced to do something, B, it seems that she had been in there for quite a while, and this was just the normal for her. And she was just like, yeah, this is how it goes. B, it didn't seem like she was fully realizing, you know, seems like she had detached herself because they said, hey, it's like what's in a movie. And she was like, oh, okay. But on the other hand, you know, she may grow up and commit even worse atrocities because she was still a part of it. Like, she still did these things. So that I don't think I'm capable of determining one way or another what I would do in this situation. I don't think I'd be able to do it one way or the other. But anyways, the rest of the gang did not receive the same immunity. They were charged with manslaughter. Because the jury wasn't sure if it was the gang's fault she died due to them beating her for a month, or the overdose from the drugs, which they had administered. Which, I guess, apparently, you know, people don't just die of torture. That doesn't happen ever. But they found them guilty on a jury of 6-3. So 6 people were like, yeah, they did it. 3 were like, no, it wasn't their fault necessarily. Which is insane that they didn't just get, like, this is awful, and they didn't just completely be like, yeah, you guys are going under the jail. So bad guys bite the bullet, and remains have been found. The 13-year-old didn't get her life ruined due to forced gang affiliation. All's good. Sadly, no. Chan and Lung Wai-lun are serving their lifetime sentence still, but Lung Xing-cho was released on his parole hearing. Woo! Yeah! He got out, he did it, free my boy! It's stupid. He lasted about 8 years, and then decided to sexually assault a 10-year-old girl. What a surprise. Takes 3, maybe 5 seconds to look and notice weird patterns. Like, you know, he was dating a young girl. It was, like, known that he was 26, dating a 13-year-old, 14. It's absolutely gross. Or, like, also, you know, weird patterns like wherever the ATF and someone's dog is, the dog dies, and the family too, and maybe their house goes with it, along with any evidence pointing to them being the bad guys. But I don't know, that's just me being goofy and possibly a little silly. ATF, please don't raid my house and shoot my dog. Now, the final bits of info being that the court said, never in Hong Kong in recent years have they heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness, and that the 3 men seemed remorseless. Now, Fan's apartment was torn down and turned into a hotel named Sorvit in 2016. 3 Buddha portraits were placed in the hotel as a memorial. And finally, Fan's husband and son now live in Singapore. 2 films were made from this case as well. They are called Human Pork Chop and There Is a Secret in My Soup. And I looked at the like pictures of them, like the movie covers, and it looks like CSI Miami cover art, you know, or like classic action movies, which I hate to say, it looks like an action movie cover, and I'm like, what the hell? But anyways, this was a hell of a case to research. Makes me kind of sad hearing that this isn't fiction. This happened in reality, the one that we exist in. Like, this happened. This was done to another human being by a human being. You might notice that I took a more jokey nature, and it's because I'm going to get more comfortable in front of the camera and more of my personality will show up, and I usually use humor to cope with negative things. You know, something bad happens and I'm like, that's a joke. Make a joke about it. It makes it, you know, not as bad, kind of funny. So if any of the jokey bits seem distasteful, just kind of let me know, be like, hey, that kind of sucks. I'll most likely be like, yeah, that was probably a bad choice. And I'll iron out the kinks and kind of like shape my content. Next, we have the Killdozer. I will be making a research video on the Killdozer in light of Whistlin' Diesel buying the Komatsu A355D bulldozer, I believe. And other videos are the Fritzl case. And speaking of, the father of the Fritzl case is up for parole. Hopefully by the time I get the video done, he will have already gone through his parole hearing, and I can give you the results of that. Woo! I was going to do Sky King, but Mr. Goon just released his video, and I listened to it, and it was fantastic, and he probably looked at it a lot deeper than I would have, and I'm working on that. I want to broaden my research, learn how to do it better, and find more details than just what's on the surface. That's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this, is because these are different things that I've kind of heard about casually, like as I was scrolling through the internet doing stuff, and I wanted to learn more about it. So, but anyways, the Sky King video is kaput. He did a fantastic job on that video. All of my videos are right now using the Wikipedia pages for the cases and whatnot as the meat and potatoes for it. So whenever I go through, I read the Wikipedia page, I kind of get some details here and there, and then I put it in the notes. Then I go to the bottom, and I go through all of those links on the bottom, and I listen to the podcasts, I check out the movies. I didn't check out the movies on this one, but all those links on the bottom, that's where I get the extra information. I'm going to learn how to do a more in-depth search, and I'm going to learn how to read government documents, so that way I can get more information that way as well. And I believe with that, I have completed my video. If you guys are still here, thank you for watching. This one was, you know, not fun. It's pretty bad. But anyways, if you guys have enjoyed, drop a like. It helps me out, lets me know that I'm doing great. If you had something to say, drop it in the comments. I love reading the comments. Those are fun. If you enjoyed even more, subscribe. Helps me out. Show me to a friend. And anyways, have a wonderful afternoon, you guys. Peace and chicken grease.